Well, good evening and welcome to the Brothas-in-law. I'm your host tonight, Corey, and my co-host tonight, Mr. Michael Bradley. Those of you who are new to our channel, Mike and I are both prior law enforcement police officer. I was a state trooper here in the great state of Virginia, and Mike is a retired 26-year veteran police officer out of Pleasanton, California. We got a pretty interesting conversation tonight. There's no video, but one of our viewers last week came up with a topic that they would like for us to talk about. Hey, Zach, welcome. Goat, welcome. So what we're talking about tonight, the title of the show is Should Traffic Stops Be Banned? And we'll look at
Go ahead.
First of all, what is a traffic stop? And what is the purpose of a traffic stop? Hey, Tone. Welcome. What's the purpose of a traffic stop, and are they necessary, Mike?
That's a good question. And Corey, for us as officers, we come from an era of policing where traffic stops are a very important part of police work. It's one of the biggest parts of police work. Let me just throw out a few things here just for our viewers. This is, I don't know if you call it a trend, but it is something that is definitely taking place in some cities across the country. For instance, Philadelphia was the first major city to ban police from stopping drivers for what they consider low-level traffic violations, like window tint, brake light out, mechanical violations, things like that. Things that would be considered low-level, or I like to use the word common traffic stops. Minneapolis officers no longer able to conduct what they call pretextual stops for low-level offenses, meaning a pretext stop is like if an officer wants to stop someone for an investigation or something else, they have to find a reason to stop someone. So what they do is we'll find a reason to stop you, like you might have a brake light out, you might roll through a stop sign or something like that, and we'll stop you. That's our reason for stopping you, and then we're investigating further to see if whatever information we need to get or whatever we're trying to find out. That's a pretext stop. Basically, when an officer has an ulterior motive besides just stopping you for the reason they stopped you for. Okay. Virginia, Corey and I, we were just talking about this. Prohibited stops for license plate lights out, brake lights out, window tint, lower level kind of traffic violations. So, this is one of those things, Corey, where you're starting to see a lot of, and the reason is because in these cities that are doing this, they want to try to make an impact on the, I guess you would say, the perception that their officers are racist and are purely stopping people for being black. That's the way I interpret it. Someone else might interpret it a different way, but that's the reason why I see them doing these things. It's to try to put an impact on black people being stopped, because they're saying statistically it shows that black folks are stopped way more than white folks for these kinds of violations that are ending up in either shootings or elevated police contacts where someone is getting hurt, or they don't turn out the way they should, as we always try to preach how they should turn out the way they do, but they don't. So that's what we're looking at, folks, and that's what we're going to have a conversation about today. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead, Corey.
Now go ahead. You can finish up, man.
No, I was just gonna say we're gonna get into, I think a lot of people, Corey, think about when they think police, they think more along the lines of what do they expect from their police department? Are we proactive or do they want us to be now more reactive? Um, and that's my thing. When you as a patrol officer, when I hit the street as a patrol officer, the first thing that was on my mind is, okay, what am I going to do on this shift? I got 10 hours, right? The first thing I'm going to do is try to initiate some contacts. They call it police proactivity. Okay, officer initiated contacts. The biggest thing that we've used for officer initiated contacts, which is on an officer's eval, by the way, in most places, it was in our department. They judged you on how many officer initiated contacts you had versus when you reacted, like calls for service, when someone called you and you contacted them. Well, if you didn't have a lot going on, you were expected to do officer initiated contacts. And the biggest way to do officer initiated contacts was traffic stops. Not only was traffic the biggest complaint in the community that I worked in, and it's probably a big complaint in a lot of communities across the country. Uh, Traffic stops, traffic enforcement was the base thing of what you started off with in your shift, unless you got a call for service or something else. What do you say to that, Corey?
No, you're right. And what I normally thought about uh, is you have to justify your 8 hours or 10 or 12, however many hours you're working that day. You have to justify your pay, right? You're a sworn employee. The state has hired you, or in my case, the state has hired me to do a job, and your job is basic primary responsibility, I say, would be traffic enforcement. Um, if you're going to cut back on how you're going to police, then we have to also look at certain things going up, certain crime elements and things going up. Because with traffic stops, a lot of times, that's where we got all our wanted people. Every time, well, not every time, but a good percentage of the time I would do a traffic stop, I'm getting somebody who's wanted. And it could be for, very bad crime that they committed, that you're getting this individual off the street before they had the opportunity to hurt somebody else. And there's benefits to, what we would call simple traffic stops. The busted tail light out. I mean, that can also play into, your insurance, and not having proper insurance, and your insurance company not uh, paying out because you didn't have your vehicle wasn't properly maintained. Insurance companies are always going to try to find a way not to have to pay you for that. And it's just a safety issue. You need to have both taillights operating properly, especially at nighttime. You have one headlight out, you're coming down the road, looks like you're, maybe a motorcycle, until you get right up on them and it's a vehicle with a headlight out. So it's a safety issue, right? And when you get in your vehicle, it's our responsibility to make sure everything is operational. If you're borrowing somebody's vehicle, well, guess what? You're driving their vehicle, even though it's not yours, you're responsible. Because you're operating that vehicle. So if you're driving it and that headlight is out, or that tail light is out, even though the vehicle is not yours, you're gonna get that ticket if I stop you for a busted tail light. It's not gonna be, oh hey, well, this ain't my vehicle. I ain't know. Well, you're sitting in the driver's seat. You assume responsibility. Um, Jay Command asked Mike, what did the numbers show for your comment you were making
Uh,
a few weeks ago?
yeah, good question. I don't really have any statistics to show you, J Command. The only thing I could say is based on the articles I've read, that the numbers that I have seen, I'm apologize, we don't have any numbers to post on the screen for you. But the reason why these cities are coming up with these new uh, laws, if you will, for stopping police from prohibiting police to make these stops, is they are saying they're trying to put an impact on black folks being stopped more than white folks. That's it in a nutshell. You know, so they're saying the statistics that I've seen, like black people are like 5 times more likely to be stopped than white folks for these low level vehicle violations. Those are the phrases I'm seeing in these articles that are saying this. And yeah, there's quite a few cities that are trying to fall in line and do what these cities are doing. Keep in mind, we're giving you our opinion as a non-racist officer, patrol officer working the street. That's the opinion I'm giving to you. And this is I'm giving it to you the way I see it as I would be a patrol officer working on the street, you know. Um, and I worked patrol for 20 plus years. So traffic stops, I can tell you, are a very large part of police work. There are a lot of things that police come across in traffic stops. Number one, it's a way of having officer initiated contact, okay, or enforcement stops. You got to enforce the traffic laws, It's also a way, remember I said, Corey, a while ago in one of our past shows, how a traffic stop, we're not just looking at, okay, you got a brake light out and have tunnel vision and only think about the brake light out, write you a ticket or give you a warning and send you on your way. That's not what a patrol officer is thinking. When I was working patrol, you're trained to look past your traffic stop to some degree. And here's what I mean by that. Okay. Before people get all up in up in arms about what do you mean you're assuming that there's more crime going on, that's the argument that someone said you're assuming more crime is going on based on this person who you have no knowledge of. You're stopping him for a brake light out. Why should you be looking for something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's my answer to that. Again, police, their job is not simply to be reactive but proactive. So when I stop you for a brake light out. I'm also looking to see, are you DUI? Could you be DUI? I'm smelling to see if I smell any alcohol in the car, just to make sure that everything's on the up and up. Because the last thing I want to do is stop somebody for a brake light out who happens to be DUI, and I let them go without trying to investigate anything. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for those things. I'm looking to see, do I see any contraband in the car in plain sight? This is all training, standard training for most officers on a traffic stop. If I see something that looks like contraband in plain sight, well, that could give me probable cause to search the vehicle. You see what I'm saying? Um, I'm looking at all these extra things just to make sure that all I have is a driver with a brake light out. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I do a traffic stop. Every traffic stop I come across, in general, that's what I do. Now,
Yeah.
Corey,
You
what,
know,
what what do you say? What are some things maybe you can explain too, from the highway perspective, especially? What are some things that you can get as a result of a traffic stop as an
uh,
officer?
you name it. I always often remind people that one of the 9/11 hijackers was stopped due to a simple traffic stop, if you will. So there's a lot you can get out of it. I mean, you as you say, as you may stop them for that um, brake light out. You notice there's a child in the vehicle, and you generate a conversation about the child, and you notice that they're fumbling over the words and they can't answer basic questions about, allegedly, this is their child in the car. Well, that's a red flag for the officer to start digging more. Well, wait a minute, what if, and then why is that child looking so timid, scared, afraid, look like they've been crying, you know well, those, again, like I said, those are red flags that we may want to dig a little bit more, and try to find out what's going on. Is that child okay? Because if you don't do that, and then you allow that vehicle to go on down the road, and then the next day or so, you find out that this little kid has been kidnapped, and you just seen her, that's you're gonna feel like crap as a LEO, and then you're gonna probably hear it from your department, like, why didn't you ask this individual any type of questions?
Yeah, yeah.
Again, those that goes back to our training. We're trained to look at things like that. You
Train to look
kind of get a
further,
chance.
look into things. You know what I'm saying? Don't
Yeah,
just assume stuff at face value
yeah,
and you know and cut them loose. For like you said, Corey, you wouldn't have never seen that. What if it was a child riding in the back seat of a car that wasn't in a car seat? Okay. You would never see that child not in a car seat unless you had a reason to stop someone. If you stopped them for a brake light out or some lower level traffic violation, you would have never seen that child in the car seat. Meanwhile, they go down the street, get into a crash, and the child goes out the side window in the crash, thrown and smashed into a tree. You see what I'm saying?
correct, correct.
So
And
go ahead.
I'll give you another example of what happened a few years ago here on the interstate. Again, another simple traffic stop turns into the trooper finding a dead body in the trunk of the vehicle. Again, that was from a simple traffic stop, I believe. He noticed that rank dead body smell, and it's like, oh, what's going? You don't see anything in the interior car, so you're gonna start probing and asking more questions and reading their body language, and so it is a necessary thing. I know in Virginia for your registration license plate tags, it's no longer a primary offense. I believe now it's a secondary offense. So you have that grace period. I think it's 3 months they give you from the time your tags expire to get them renewed. After that time period has lapsed, then they can stop you for expired tag. Now, however, if you're driving during that time period and you get into a car crash, well, then at that I don't think that then applies. Then they can go ahead and issue you a summons. But Virginia has changed some of the laws. Again, we can still pursue. They can still get into pursuits with vehicles. It's no longer a felony eluding. I think now they reduced it down to now just a misdemeanor charge versus a felony charge. But going back to what you said earlier, Mike, about the numbers and the statistics, I'm kind of I'd like to see those numbers too, because as I know, I don't know what color you are until I get up to the vehicle. Especially if you're patrolling at night. And a lot of times is where a lot of enforcement is done is at nighttime. In fact, that's where most of the time you're getting all your drunks. And when and I'm speaking on the interstate, and you could probably have a different perspective, dealing with
No,
the
it's the
city.
same way. If you're working at night, you bring up a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
For traffic stops that are made at nighttime, you definitely don't know who's driving until you walk up to the driver's door and see. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Generally, you don't see that. You know what I'm saying? You won't see who's driving till you see who's driving, right?
Yeah.
Till after the stop is made.
Yeah.
But goat, not goat. Zach makes a good comment, and goat too. But I think as officers, Corey, it's like it's hard for us to wrap our heads around not being able to stop someone for these violations, these quote unquote low level violations, because
Mm-hmm.
this was common practice in police work. They were laws. We were enforcing those laws. And, it's hard to say, well, you no longer can do that. Now, I do understand that police work for the community. And if the community doesn't want us to do that, that's fine. I don't have a problem. Well, let me rephrase that.
Well, you got to
I don't have
justify
a
that.
problem
You got to
following.
justify that 80-hour or 40-hour work week, man.
That's true. I don't have a problem justifying, or I'm sorry, I don't have a problem following what the community wants. I just want to make sure the community understands what they are giving up. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You're actually taking a big element of police work out. Like, for instance, Philly said, if I remember that article, they said that the crime rate had dropped because it was something correlating to the fact that when this came out and officers weren't able to make these stops, the crime rate dropped and there were less police contacts with people, resulting in these crimes, basically. Okay, well, sure. If we're not allowed
Crime
to
rate
stop
drop.
someone, yeah, if we're
You
not
said
allowed to stop someone who's riding dirty, right? Well, of course your crime rate is going to go down because we ain't catching them now.
you ain't getting it right.
We ain't catching them.
Now,
You're
what
not
kind of
stopping
sense does
people
that
like
make,
that.
Mike?
It don't make no that's the thing. That's what I want citizens to understand what they're taking away. That's all. Yes, we are not just supposed to be reactive. Do you want your police department to just be reactive, meaning only come when we're called? You see what I'm saying? That now these are someone would make the argument that police can still stop people for higher level violations. I just don't think they realize how much the lower level violations played a role in things too. You get people with warrants. A lot of traffic stops result in people who have warrants. Okay, a lot of traffic results in people who have illegal firearms in the car. A lot of traffic stops result in people having contraband or drugs in the car. Or a lot of traffic stops. Let me give an example. Let's say if you got a citizen, a community complaining of a drug house in their neighborhood, right? And you do all your work on trying to build a case against this drug house, and you see cars coming and going, just like what is normally reported by a community for a drug house. There's cars coming and going all hours of the day and night, right? Well, how can you as a police department address something like that? Well, let me tell you. For starters, traffic stops are like right on the perimeter of addressing something like that. You see cars coming and going from that house that people are reporting as a drug house, and they want us to do something about it. Well, the first thing you're going to start doing is stopping cars that are coming and going from that particular house. Okay. Low-level traffic violations are a way you could do that. Maybe this car who just left that drug house got a brake light out. All right. You stop them for a brake light out, and guess what? People who come and go from drug houses usually have warrants or usually have drugs in the car. That's just common sense, right? Right. So you stop that for a brake light out or some minor traffic violation, something hanging from the rearview mirror or a license plate light out, or something like that. You got your reason for stopping them. That's your opportunity to get in there and contact someone who is coming going from this drug house, okay, who might have some contraband in their car. Yeah, I stopped you for that brake light out. Now I'm identifying who you are because you got to have a driver's license to drive that car. So now I have a name of someone who is coming and going from this drug house. Okay. I maybe I smell something in the car or I see some contraband in the car in plain sight. Okay. Guess what? Wow, I can search the car because I see some contraband in plain sight, right? Some drugs or whatever it is, right? Now I got a name of someone coming to and from that drug house. I got some contraband in their car that is commonly sold that people are saying, the community is saying, is coming from this drug house. Okay. Now I can start to build a case to write up a search warrant for the drug house. Okay. To get into that drug house and try to solve that problem that the community is complaining about. That's what you're taking away when you say we don't want police to stop low-level traffic violations.
And that's what I'm saying. I think when you do that, then more problems are going to arise, and you'll be back to where you were in the beginning, and having police officers doing traffic stops again. Now, I understand in some cities throughout the country they have done that, and I believe out your way, Mike, in Oakland, they have a special division now that's all they do is handle traffic infractions such as that. Is that not true?
It was I think it's I'm not sure about Oakland, but I know Berkeley is one of out here in California.
Berkeley, that's
Berkeley is
it.
one of
Berkeley,
those.
yeah.
Yeah, Berkeley is one of those where they put a kibosh on that. Their officers, from my understanding, can't stop basically low level traffic violations.
Mhm.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is one that threw me for a loop in Berkeley that I saw right before we started this show in an article that apparently probationers or parolees, officers can't search probationers or parolees without something that is, unless an officer feels that they may have something that is that creates some imminent danger to the
Right,
public.
right.
They can't search a parolee. Well, obviously, as an officer, I'm thinking it's very common for thieves, for drug users and stuff, when they go through the court system, to be put on probation with a search clause. Okay. And a search clause, folks, out here in California means that a judge is saying, I'm going to give you probation, but I'm going to give you these conditions that you have to abide by to stay on probation. You see what I'm saying? Or you're going to go to jail. So, and those provisions, one of those provisions or could be that you can't have any drugs on you. Let's just make that an example. Well, so if I stop somebody on probation and I find out they're in probation and they have a search clause, then I should be able to search that person, because the reason for them having a search clause is because they're on probation. It's a condition of the punishment that the judge has given them to say, we'll give you probation and let you walk free as long as you abide by these rules. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then when we find out you violated these rules, guess what? Your probation can get revoked and you can be arrested and go to jail. Well, if you stop searching, if you say we can't search probationers or parolees, well, then what's the purpose of having that in the first place?
I mean, because let's be honest, Mike. You and I both know that they're going to get released on bond and go right back to what they were doing, and that's, either they were dealing drugs or they were using drugs or whatever contraband they were fooling around with. They're going right back to it, and so that's one of the reasons too. And it's a precondition, and to get let out even on what we have here is what we call pretrial, which is basically you're being supervised like probation. It's just you haven't gone to court yet, so we call it pretrial. And so what your bond hearing, on your release documents, it's going to state on it, the judge is going to stipulate on it that you must submit to search by law enforcement. And that's the reason why it is a condition in order for you to stay out. Right, you're out on probably on a what we call OR, on reconnaissance bond. No money attached, it's just your word. But if you violate that condition of that bond, say you got a $5,000 bond, well, guess what? Now you're on the hook for that $5,000. So they put all these conditions on, kind of what they call hold things over your head, so you don't go out here and reoffend.
Yeah. So if you take that element of a police officer being able to search somebody on probation, then that's kind of, in my opinion, that's kind of silly. But apparently that's what Berkeley is either trying to do or they already did it. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure there's some more details to that.
Now I'd be interested to see
maybe
how much success they're having with that. So I'd like to know, what the job descriptions entails. I mean, other than y'all doing minor traffic stop, are they trained to look at if there's more to it, or they're going in with just that tail light being out, or they just ran that stop sign? Are they able to get in pursuits if they run that stop sign and they don't stop? Do they have real arrest authority? Can they arrest anybody? What are their parameters for doing that? I mean, because you're trying to say you're law enforcement, but you're not law enforcement.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure I would have to have an opportunity to talk to a Berkeley officer. I would like to talk to probably a Berkeley patrol officer to get their opinion on, how successful this is going. Because you can easily say that, well, we have less crime or less incidents involving violent confrontations with police because they don't stop you. Well, yeah, it's easy to say that if we don't stop you, you ain't. Of course, your crime rate is going to show that it's going down because we ain't stopping you. And I think some of the phrases I'm seeing in some of these cities that say officers have more time to focus on more serious crime. Okay, that's why they're coming up with these. Well, here's my response to that. What they don't understand is traffic stops, whether it's low level traffic violations or high level traffic violations, can be the start of addressing more serious crime. Okay, the broken window theory. We know how that goes, right? You see, you start at the lowest level and you can make an impact on the higher level. I worked in a city where at one point the city had a reputation for, folks was coming into the city and it was saying, and I would hear this from people that were arrested or people that we stopped that we arrested for some reason. And they would say, man, everybody knows don't roll through this city, okay, because you're going to get stopped. You know what I'm saying? Don't roll through this city because you're going to get stopped. And we had that reputation because the officers there were very proactive in making traffic stops and making enforcement stops and contacting people that way. You know what I'm saying? That's a normal part of policing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that policing. There's a lot of crime you'll pass up if you take that away. That's all I'm saying. Now, hey, like I said before, Corey, though, as an officer, we do work for the community. And if they want to take that away, okay, then we won't make those stops. I don't have a problem with that. Although I want to make sure they clearly understand what it is they're stopping. You see what I'm saying? So don't let the statistics fool you when the statistics say, oh, crime rate is lower now because we took these lower level traffic violations away. No, that just means you got more people with warrants getting away with it. You got more people rolling dirty getting away with it. Okay.
Yeah,
criminals will love these new laws. They'll love them. You mean I can roll around with a brake light out? I can roll around on these small violations. I ain't got to worry about getting pulled over. Oh, they'll love that. I can have my pound of weed, a pound of cocaine, a pound of meth in my trunk and not even worry about it. You see what I'm saying?
I ain't worried about it.
Let me give you an example, Corey. Corey, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so scenario, 1 o'clock in the morning, you on Graveyard, you patrolling a business district. Okay, you see a car coming out of from behind a business, right? You know it's a business. You see this car pulling out from behind that business, going down the street, getting ready to leave the area. Okay, now the business is closed, right? It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Should there be someone at this business who is pulling out? I don't know. Maybe not. Okay. We're not supposed to assume that everything is good. As a police officer, your job is to find crime, not just to react to crime, but to find crime. Okay. So you see this car pulling out, he got a brake light out. Well, guess what? You can't stop him, right? Because he got a brake light out. That's one of these violations that the city says they don't want our officers stopping people for that anymore. All right. So you let him go. He rolls on out of the business district. Next morning, you get a call that this business was burglarized. Our back door was smashed open and we lost our cash register. We lost this, that, and the other. Right. And we got him on camera. It's a black sedan, blah, 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 pulling out of our parking lot. And guess what? Well, shoot, that officer saw that black sedan pulling out of your parking lot at 1 o'clock in the morning. But we couldn't find a reason to stop him because we can't stop him for a brake light out because he did have a brake light out. You can't stop him. Okay. That's called a pretext stop, gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen. A pretext stop is when I see you at 1 o'clock in the morning pulling out of a business district. And it's kind of strange to me. It seems suspicious to me. Again, I don't know what color you are in the driver's seat because it's dark. Okay. And you pulling out. Normally, would I stop that vehicle with a brake light out coming out of the business complex at 1 o'clock in the morning? Yeah, you better believe I'll stop that vehicle because I want to make sure this is not a burglary coming out from behind that vehicle. Okay. Now, if all I get is just, yeah, you got a brake light out and ain't nothing else going on here, fine, great. Okay. But that doesn't mean that my job was only to just stop you for the brake light and let you go. That my job was to make sure there wasn't something more going on here. You see what I'm saying? And if you all on the up and up, fine, good. That's a pretext stop. That's what a pretext stop is. That's how it goes. And that's the reason why traffic stops with low-level violations can be very beneficial for officers. Because that business owner will be pretty pissed off if they know that officer saw this black four-door sedan coming out of the parking lot but didn't stop him.
Yeah, I hate to say, when you do that and you're not being proactive, and now I'm talking about being on the interstate, and that's where all your drugs are getting to and from everywhere, right? And we have what we call a gateway here. It goes from here in Virginia all the way up to New York. They travel on a certain interstate here, transporting all your drugs up the coast here. And a lot of times, like you said, now you're gonna have more drugs making its way throughout, the South all the way up to the northern part of the United States, because officers are going to be doing less traffic stops now because you can't get that busted tail light. You can't get that expired tags now. You can't get that dangling object from the rear view mirror. You can't get them for the dark tinted windows, right? You can't get them for failure to signal and changing lanes. You know what I mean? Because they didn't turn their blinker on. So when you do this thing, more and more, the criminals don't give a crap. And they don't care about you don't care about your gun laws. They don't care about your traffic laws. They don't care. That's why they're criminals, right? So again, who's really being affected by these decisions that some localities, government localities are making? The citizens, the law-abiding citizens, are the ones that are going to be affected by it. You're going to have more drugs, although your number of drug conversations probably going to go down. You're going to be, politicians going to be screaming, "Oh yeah, see, look, we're doing good," like you said, Mike. Now you're just not catching them anymore. So your numbers aren't going down.
Now, I hear you. Tone says, let me just address Tone's comment real quick. Isn't that state and federal law for officers to be able to search probation and parolees? Yeah, it's a law, Tone, but that's why I have a question as to exactly how Berkeley, the city of Berkeley, is enforcing something like that, or if how that exactly works. Because like I was saying, if a judge says you got a search clause and the officers can search you at any time for any reason, okay, then we should be able to do that. If you take that away, okay, then aren't you going against what the judge is saying? Because we're only acting on behalf of what the judge gave you. You know what I'm saying, as an officer. So that's a good question. The other thing, Corey, is now I have to try to keep an open mind and think of this in a different way. You know what I'm saying? These cities that are coming up with these new bills and new laws about what they want their officers to do, their sole intent that they all say and they all have in common is to try and curb the amount of black people being stopped versus somebody else. Now, as an officer, when I hit the street, and you the same way, Corey, when I hit the street, I'm not, and something else I have a problem with real quick. I'm sorry. When I have a problem with when they say stuff like these violations, these traffic stops target black people. I have a problem with that word target because I think of myself as the patrol officer when I hit the street. I don't target black people. You see what I'm saying? I'm targeting the violation. I don't care what
Right.
color you are. You see what
Right.
I'm saying? I don't care who's driving. I don't care what color you are. If you got a brake light out, I'm targeting the brake light. When I hit the street, that's what I'm looking for. Brake lights. Yeah, you get calls for service coming in, but in between calls for service, your job is to make traffic stops, officer initiated contacts, to look for crime, not just to react to crime. You see what I'm saying? So the reason they're coming up with these is because they want to make an impact on the amount of black people being stopped. Okay, will that make an impact? I don't know. If I guess it would if you cut out, if you're telling me that more black people are being stopped versus white folks, okay, and you say we don't want y'all to make any stops, well, I guess naturally you're going to have numbers that will show less black people are being stopped, but you're going to have numbers that show everybody being stopped, less being stopped, right? No matter what color you are, you're going to have less numbers of those stops, period, no matter what color you are. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if the motivation for something like this. I don't know. You know what? That's a whole different conversation, Corey, about whether or not we can sit here and argue
Well, I mean
why these
that's
numbers in
why
states show that more black people are being stopped than white folks. We
that's
can have a
why
topic about that.
we have this channel to have these difficult conversations that our local government officials don't want to have because they're afraid of people's feelings getting hurt. But we have to call it what it is, right? You know, you want to do policing. All right, are there some things that we could probably uh, draw down on and fix? Absolutely. I'm not saying they're not, but at the end result, when you're trying to say, defund the whole police and all that foolishness, but then you got to look at the consequences, who's being affected. When you talk about doing all these things here, we were just discussing about doing away with simple traffic stops. Okay, who's being impacted by that? Because you're not doing this, more drugs are going to be moving throughout your communities now. Well, because they know you're not going to do any traffic stops. You know, you're more or less likely now to stop that vehicle that runs a stop sign or runs the red light, because now you get officers like, well, you go to court and 9 times out of 10, now a lot of things it's going to get continued on to the point where you allow uh, the individual to get the money they need to pay their ticket off, the fine off, or whatever the case may be, or they're going to reduce it down to a lesser offense, or they're just going to dismiss it. So you're going to be um, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? So officers are going to be getting discouraged and not wanting to enforce the law or be proactive anymore, and to the point you're just going to end up having more and more crime happening and less involvement with the police. And then you're going to have to go back and look at this again. It's okay, now what do we do to fix this? And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying nothing needs to be done. Something needs to be done, but taking taking policing away from police, I don't think is a good idea.
I agree. I agree. And my like we've been saying this whole time, it's important that citizens understand exactly what policing is.
Mm-hmm.
If there's more black people being stopped than white folks, okay, let's go to those cities and look at that statistic. It's just like you're saying, if I was an officer working one of these cities, and obviously I know I don't go out and stop people based on their skin color, right? So
Mm-hmm.
and I am one of many officers, clearly, that are those kinds of officers. Okay, I look at that as you're automatically saying I'm stopping you because of the color of your skin, not because of the violation that I see. You see what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. Well, that's not true. Again, when I go out, clearly we ain't looking at the color of your skin. I don't care about that. You see what I'm saying? I care about the violation. I'm zeroed in on the violation. Now, but that's the argument. The argument in a lot of these cities is the citizens believe that most of because the numbers show more black people stopped than white folks, they believe that that's because they are stopped because they're black. You see what I'm saying? Now, it's hard for me to look at that in that way, only because of my experience in policing. You see what I'm saying? Now, like I say, like we say all the time, Corey, are there racist cops out there? I don't know. Probably. We don't know every cop in the USA, right?
No,
Man, I'm
no.
not going
I mean, I hear you, and
these large things are based off of the intent is to give this perception that they're not necessary. That nothing ever comes of it. What do you think?
I mean, I like this. I think I'm wondering how much of this is purely emotions versus statistics.
I hear you.
Because I'm like you, based on my experience, and Katrina, this is answering your question here. So as the thought just popped in my head, I have not worked with any racist officers. Now,
Me either. I've never worked in 26 years. I've never worked with a racist officer. At least I'll say this. I've never worked with an officer who showed me anything that I would look at and say that's racist, dude. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I wouldn't look at that. Not on the street.
So we had an individual out of our office. He wasn't racist, but a lot of people would say he was based on because he stopped you. And I give you an example. He would stop somebody, and normally when you're suspended, policy is that you have to tow the vehicle. All right. So I called for a record, and usually it takes them about 20 minutes to get to you, right? And I would tell individuals that, hey, if you can get somebody here to come get you to drive this vehicle off before my tow truck gets here, you can take your car with you. Well, this guy wouldn't do that. You could live a block away from your house. He was not letting you drive that car home. Is he wrong for that? No, because our policy said your vehicle should be towed. Right, that was policy because you're suspending the vehicle, or you had some type of major equipment violations. The vehicle wasn't safe for the road. Now, and majority of the troopers out there, 99.9% of them will let you get somebody to come out there to drive the vehicle on, or if the passenger is licensed, we'll verify that the passenger is licensed, and we'll let them drive the vehicle home. If it's okay with the owner of the vehicle, drive the vehicle. But so people will call and complain on this trooper because he was being saying he was being racist. No, and he'll write every ticket he can under the sun on you, right? Whereas I might not do it, or other officers might not do it, but he will. Is he wrong for it? No. And he had one tone with everybody, right? Even he wrote one of my one of my son's teachers, elementary teachers, a ticket one time, and she called and talked to me about it, and I was like, it's like, is he racist? I was like, no, he's just a dickhead. But no, I mean, if he wrote you, it was legit. His attitude, whatever, will probably make you believe that he would, but he wasn't. I mean, the dude was really in the office where everybody was a really good dude, but answer your question, no, I have never worked with a racist trooper. Are there some out here? Absolutely. They
and again, I'm only saying that because I can't say that we know every officer in the country.
Right.
So I'm not going to assume that there aren't. None. However, remember now on this show, we tell and try to teach people what to do in the event they come across an officer contact, whether you're racist or not. The racist or not doesn't factor in. You got to do A, B, C, and D. If you do A, B, C, and D, you can be just fine. And that's with any officer, whether racist or not. We try to maintain that. But Corey, in these cities that are coming up with this, like you were saying, you said you wonder about the statistics. I'm not going to argue with the statistics. I agree. If they say that in these particular areas, if it's more likely black people are more likely to be stopped than white people, I'm not going to argue the statistic. It is what it is. I would wonder though the reason why. I'm not going to look at that statistic and automatically assume and jump to, oh, they're being stopped because they're black. I'm not going to jump to that conclusion. What I will jump to is, could it be a social economic type of thing? Is it that these people that they are stopping are more likely not to be able to afford their registration or something? Is it something like that? Are they working in an area that is a black community or a white community, or is it a community? What is the community made up of the people that are being stopped? Or where they're being stopped, right? I just wonder those kinds of things. There's some other aspects of those statistics that I would question, that I would wonder about. But hey, if you're trying to make an impact on making it more fair, if you will, then what you're really doing is you're saying, okay, as an officer, I need to go out and I need to make sure that I stop a black person, a white person, an Asian person, a Hispanic person, and then I need to cycle back through. So that's what you're saying basically. As a patrol officer, I need to go out and I need to keep track and make sure that I make an even number of stops of white people that I do black people. That I make.
It's funny you say that,
and that's unrealistic. It doesn't work that way.
It's funny you say that because one of the forms we had to turn in every week with our weekly reports, we always call it the racial profile sheet. So it's broken up into the 3 cities that we patrolled, and each one obviously was black, white, Hispanic, Asian, or other. And so you throughout your week you could work just one city, or you may work all 3 cities. So every week your sheet is going to be, depending on what city you work in, you may have a mixture. You may have all black because one of the cities is 98% black. So but what you won't get, and if you do, you're just lucky, I guess you can say. I don't want to use the word luck, but you might get an Asian, you might get Hispanics, but majority people on your sheet are going to be black and white. And some weeks I have more whites that I will write tickets to, and then other weeks I would have more blacks, and then some it would be even. But it's just, you have to look at it, and sometimes it would be a running joke. Oh, shoot, I can't pull no more black people if I got too many blacks. You know what I mean? It'd just be like a little running joke. I would sit there and say, oh, I can't write no more black people. They're going to say I'm racist. And I'm black.
You know what? But hey, folks, realistically, that's what it seems it's coming down to is, as a patrol officer, you got to think about, dang, I got too many of one race. I need to go and try to find some other ones.
Now you're targeting. Now
you're targeting, right?
You know what I mean?
Now you're going out and you are stopping because of the color of the skin, because you got too many stops of the other one. So you have to even it out. Unfortunately, you see that going that way. You know what I'm saying?
And you don't want that.
Because you don't want to be accused of being racist. You see what I'm saying? We got too many of this color. We got to even it out. We got to start, you know what I'm saying? That's really what you're doing. Again, police work, there's a lot of issues, I think, when you talk about race, there's a lot of, in all races, there's social and economic classes, if you will, in all races. You can argue that someone who is in a lower social or economic class, I should say. We could say social all day, but economic specifically is what I'm talking about. They may not be able to afford to fix that brake light out. They may not be able to afford to to get that registration. I get that too. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but again, and when I make stops, I can come across someone and they'll tell me straight up, yeah, I couldn't afford it this week or whatever. I might give them a break. You know what I'm saying? Why
Absolutely.
not? But again, when I go out as a patrol officer, I'm targeting the violation. I'm not targeting this color of your skin. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any, I would say most patrol officers don't target the color of your skin. They target the violation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, is this going to make an impact on those numbers? I don't know. Maybe in those
Right.
particular cities where they say more blacks are being stopped than white. I don't know. Maybe so. Okay. But if you're just looking at that, and you're not looking at police work as a whole, some cities, Corey, they feel that these lower level violations don't make enough difference in
Mm-hmm.
in crime in their city. That was one of the things I saw too on some of these articles. Is
I,
that
I,
they felt
I,
that
I
didn't
would
make
like to.
a difference.
Yeah, whatever. But uh, you're right, Katrina. The officers have a lot more to worry about than being accused or thinking they have cited way too many whites, blacks, Hispanics. I mean, yeah, but the way the atmosphere is now, I mean, nobody wants to be labeled as a racist, right? It's
Especially when you ain't one.
especially when you ain't one,
When
and
you
it's
ain't one, you don't want to be assumed that you stopping somebody because you racist.
but
Yeah, that's all.
it's getting to that point now. And then again, like I always was saying in our earlier videos, is that you don't want officers to have to start second guessing themselves, right? I just stopped three blacks, I can't stop another one, and somebody commits offense in front of you, and because you had that mentality now, like, I can't stop any more blacks. Well, this guy just committed a murder, and you find out about it. You just got just make, model, the car, and the description of the driver passed you, and you failed to stop him. You found out he committed a murder, and you let that guy go because of your mentality now of not wanting to stop an individual, because you stopped too many of that particular race. We can't think like that. Officers can't be out here thinking like that. Um, Again, are there racist police officers out there? Like Mike said, I don't know. Maybe there are. There probably are. I'm sure there are. Um, but the bulk and the majority of the officers out there, men and women, they're out there, put that uniform on every day. We know that's the last thing that's on our mind is to be racist, right? Because it's too much BS that an officer has to go through to get caught up in all that foolishness. You don't make a lot of money, right? So it's not like you're doing this for the thrill. Oh, I'm going out to hunt blacks, or I'm going out to hunt uh, um, Hispanics, or something of that nature. And nobody thinks like that. You go out here, you expect these fine officers to put that uniform on and be reasonable in their actions, and conducting themselves in a professional manner, and issuing the summons or warrant, or not warrant, or issuing the summons or warning in the proper manner, and just being a servant. I mean, that's what we are. We're servants to the community, protect and serve the community. At the end of the day, that's what we do. Um, but we're gonna go ahead and get ready to wrap this one up, y'all. This was a great conversation. Tone, thanks for this topic tonight, man. It was very, very good. I thought. Let us know what you think. What is your idea of better policing? Leave us a comment below. And if you got a topic you'd like Mike and I to talk about, go ahead and drop it in the comments below, and we'll look at it, and we'll see what we can come up with for a show. And we'll be back next week with another show, probably another video, or if we can come up with another topic such as this, a nice little discussion, we'll do so. But hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and share this out to everybody far and wide, so we can get more people in these types of conversations, because this is how we affect change,
Yeah.
and get conversation going. Hopefully, to inspire you all to get be active within your communities, and run for office uh, at the lower level to make changes in your communities, or be a great witness, like we always say.
Yeah. And remember, when we give you our opinion, police work is police work. It's always going to be police work, regardless of the color of your skin. Police tactics, traffic stops, all of those are still going to be police work, as it
Mhm.
always has been, as always will be police work. There is no color to police work. So when we tell you this is how we would solve this problem, or this is what we do on our streets, or this is how we were as patrol officers, or whatever it was, we're telling you on police work, strictly on police work. Remember, I mean, either you want your police to be proactive or reactive. Well, police job is supposed to be both proactive and reactive. We react to your call for service, and we should be proactive in making contacts, officer initiated contacts, enforcement contacts, whether it's low level or high level. You start taking that away, just make sure you understand as a citizen what you're taking away. If you want to take it away still, because you think it'll make a certain difference in some specific area, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? Just know what it is you're taking away. That's all.
Yep. All right. So that would do it for us tonight. Again, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate your interaction with us. And again, hit that like, share, and subscribe button for us, and leave us a comment below if you like for us to have a particular topic you would like for us to discuss. And if you like the content of this video, boom, hit it up. Drop us a line or two down there, letting us know how you feel about this video. All right. That being said, y'all be blessed. Have a great rest of your week and an awesome weekend. And we'll see y'all next week.
Peace.
Peace.